Long before history was written, a war shook the heavens and split the earth. This is the Mahabharata, not just a story, but a cosmic saga of gods, warriors, curses, and fate. A battle between dharma and dharma, truth and betrayal, where every choice shapes eternity. Welcome to Dark Whispers, where forgotten legends are brought back to life. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and turn on the bell icon and follow the Whispers of Destiny. Bhima had returned from the jaws of death, now weakened but reborn in power. Duryodhana's hatred simmered, but fate had moved on. In the ancient grounds beyond Hastinapura's walls, under the tutelage of Acharya Drona, the sons of Kuru now began their formal training in archery, swordplay, chariot warfare, and the eternal dance of dharma and combat. The training ground was sacred. Here brothers became warriors. Here rivals were born. Before his gathered pupils, sons of Pandu and Dhritarashtra, Dronacharya raised his voice like thunder rolling across a sullen battlefield. I shall make you each of you a warrior worthy of your lineage. But among you, one will rise above all, unmatched, peerless in arms. And though he said no name, his eyes rested upon Arjuna. Each prince grew in strength. Bhima shattered maces in his fists like clay. Yudhishthira guided horses with steady mind and noble control. Nakula and Sahadeva danced with sword and javelin like wind through whipped trees. Duryodhana, fueled by envy and pride, trained relentlessly with the mace. Ashwatthama, son of the teacher, watched and learned, a prince by blood, yet often alone. But Arjuna, he outshone them all, practicing even in darkness, learning to shoot by sound, by breath, by instinct. Dronacharya saw in him the spark of destiny and favored him quietly and secretly. Far from the palace, beyond the royal walls, beyond the gaze of kings, lived a boy among the hunters. Ekalavya, son of Hiranyadanush, chieftain of the Nishadas. He was not born in marble halls, nor dressed in silk, but in his heart burned a longing fierce as any princess. He had heard whispers of the great teacher Dronacharya, the master of arms, Guru to the Kauravas and Pandavas, and his soul stirred. When Drona saw him, Eklavya bowed low and said, O Acharya, I am Ekalavya of the Nishadas. I wish to learn at your feet. Make me your disciple. But Drona's face darkened. He was a Brahmin under the patronage of kings, bound by dharma to accept a forest-dwelling non-Kshatriya disciple would break the order of his role. Dronacharya reluctantly said, I cannot teach you, son. You do not belong in this royal path. Eklavya bowed again silently and left. But his devotion did not end. Deep in the forest, Ekalavya found a clearing. There, beneath an ancient banyan tree, he gathered earth and clay. With patience, love, and reverence, he shaped an idol, a figure of Dronacharya, eyes cast downward in silent wisdom. Every morning, Ekalavya bowed before this clay form. Every day he practiced, shooting leaves from trees, splitting arrowheads in mid-air, hitting invisible marks by sound alone. His talent grew wild, perfect, untamed. The forest whispered of him. Even animals watched from the shadows in wonder. In Hastinapura, Arjuna's brilliance grew. He trained under Drona's eye, learning to use celestial astras, learning to strike by moonlight, by sound, and by smell. Drona was proud. He whispered to himself, Arjuna shall be the greatest archer on earth. But fate had other plans. One morning, Drona gathered his students beneath a spreading tree. Upon a high branch he placed a clay bird. Lift your bows, aim at the bird. Tell me, what do you see? One by one they spoke. I see the bird, the tree, the sky. I see the leaves, the branch, the bird. At last Arjuna stepped forward. Dronacharya asked Arjuna, what do you see? Arjuna replied, I see only the eye of the bird, Acharya. The arrow flew, the eye shattered. Destiny's voice rang in that shot. One day while hunting in the forest with his brothers and Acharya Drona, Arjuna witnessed something unbelievable. An animal moved, swift, silent, but an arrow flew, faster still, and struck the beast with an impossible precision. They followed the trail and came upon Ekalavya. The forest stood hushed, heavy with tension. A moment stretched between two hearts, one bound by loyalty, the other by dharma. Ekalavya stood tall, bow in his hand, eyes shining with reverence. Before him stood the one he believed in more than life itself, Dronacharya. Drona looked into the boy's eyes, so open, so filled with devotion, and his chest tightened, for what he was about to ask was not righteous. Dronacharya asked Ekalavya, who is your teacher, O boy? Eklavya replied, you, Acharya. This clay doll is yours. I practice before it every day. Drona's heart sank. His vow that no one would surpass Arjuna was now in danger. Behind him stood Arjuna, his proud heart beginning to tremble. Dronacharya in a slow, strained voice asked Ekalavya, if I am truly your Guru, then grant me Guru Dakshina, a gift of loyalty for my teachings. Eklavya did not hesitate. He smiled, grateful for the chance. His hands folded. Ekalavya softly asked, Acharya, command me. Whatever you ask is yours. Drona's lips parted. Words refused to leave. He looked at Arjuna, at his pupil, his promise, his pride. Then, as if pulling the words from his soul with a blade, he said it. Your right thumb, child. A bird shrieked in the distant canopy. The wind dropped from the trees. Even time held its breath. Ekalavya didn't ask why. He didn't plead. He simply knelt, unsheathing his hunting blade. His hands, which had strung hundreds of arrows, which had honored Drona's clay form for years, now reached toward the earth. One deep breath, no tears, no scream, no anger, just the soft sound of blade on flesh, a gasp of pain, a fall of blood onto sacred soil. He placed the severed thumb in both hands and held it up, as if it were a lotus offering in a temple. Ekalavya, smiling faintly, said, This is my gift, Acharya. Dronacharya turned his face, not in pride, but in shame. His oath was protected, but something inside him withered. He would never again speak of Ekalavya. Behind him, Arjuna stared, his bow gripped tighter than ever. He had won, but to him it felt like defeat. He who had never known rejection, he who had trained under the living Drona, and yet here stood a boy who, without a word or touch, had offered more to their Guru than Arjuna ever had. Inside his chest something cracked, a mixture of admiration and guilt. History would not weep for Ekalavya. His name would fade from scrolls, his tale a whisper among trees. But the forest would remember the sound of the severed thumb falling, the purity of a student's love, and the moment when dharma bent, so a promise could stand.